Hello and welcome to another edition of the Steelers Depot live stream. I am Alex Kozora. Joining me as always is Bryan of SteelersDepot.com here until the top of the hour answering your Steelers questions through the first 2 weeks of the season. Pittsburgh 1-1 coming off of a 31-17 loss to the Seattle Seahawks Sunday at Acrisure for Pittsburgh's home opener after beating the Jets 34-32 to start the year. So jam-packed show today. I'm sure hearing from you guys. Dave, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I survived a trip through the All-22, so I think I'm going to make it so far here. But looking forward to watching this doubleheader of Monday Night Football that's about to get underway tonight and continue going through some of the All-22 and then get started on some New England tape.
All right. As always, Dave and I will answer your questions till top of the hour. You want to guarantee of your question being asked and answered by Dave and myself, you can send us a super chat. No obligation to do so. Of course, we appreciate the super chats all the same. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that, especially hitting the like button now to bring in as many of Steelers Nation as possible. We'll start with Lumberzack94, who says, "Hey fellas, brutal loss yesterday, but at least it was to an NFC opponent in week 2. Still plenty of time to figure things out. That said, am I crazy for thinking that if we simply move Y.E. Black to nose tackle and played Holcomb on early rundowns, that would be the simplest way to help the run defense? Feels like that's too obvious and makes me question why Tomlin is not willing to try it." Dave, I'll let you have the floor for this first question.
Look, just merely doing that alone, something that I pulled up from your charting earlier today, and I don't know how much, Alex, you've gone down the rabbit hole within that, but if you look at the just the base 3-4 drill down so far through the first 2 games, specifically when Keanu Benton is at nose tackle, opposing offenses have run for 102 yards on 25 attempts. Now, obviously, that's a little bit more yards per carry than you'd want to be in, and I'm not a big fan of just using yards per carry as a raw stat. It's very archaic at this point. But against that 4.1 yards per carry with Benton in the middle at nose tackle in 3-4, 9 of those attempts run defense against that 3-4 front with Benton at nose tackle went for 0 or lost yardage. So 9 of 25. I don't know what the percentage is on that.
And then or about a third. 27 would be 1/3, right? So
yeah,
about that.
Yeah. All right, so and 5 of those 25 run attempts went for 10 yards or longer, and I think one of those was a Justin Fields design run on one of those. I don't think those are all running back runs. And then, I mean, that's really the rawness of it. Has it been as bad just in 3-4? Now, once again, you hate this. Here's the other aspect of it. I think I counted how many were there? 9 of those 25 attempts, I believe, were what could be deemed successful runs. So in other words, if it's like if a run goes for 4.5 or more yards on 1st and 10, that's successful. If a run picks up 50% of the required, say it's 2nd and 10 and you pick up 5 yards, that would be a successful run. Same as if it's like 2nd and 4 and you only got 2 yards, that would be a successful run. And then obviously any 3rd down run that converted would be a successful run. So the success rate obviously a little elevated there. And then you go to the tape. And Benton, now I haven't gone back and just looked at those 25 runs in particular. I haven't. It's something I want to drill down by the rest of the week. But look, there's more than a few times you see Benton getting pushed around. Now, in as far as Y.A. Black goes in this game specifically, I didn't think he was all that great in this game either. A couple of double teams he wasn't able to hold up on and got toppled over as well there. So I guess it's a long way of saying merely at this point. Now, would it hurt to try? I mean, no, I don't think so. It doesn't sound like the Steelers are ready to go down that road just yet. And then even Cole Holcomb, I know he graded out a little bit better than kind of what my initial reaction was on tape, but I'm not convinced that that's 100% the cure all as well. Now, maybe on some early downs, you maybe do something within that, because obviously you could rotate in Peyton Wilson and Cole Holcomb alongside Patrick Queen if you needed to. Here's the thing. They can't continue to get gashed on that defense, regardless if you're in 3-4 or 2 down or whatever. So there's only so many more games you can stomach watching this defense get run on the way that they've gotten run on. Am I convinced that just merely changing out Y.A. Black over nose and putting Cole Holcomb in there is the catch-all? No.
Me neither. This game was certainly more alarming than I think week one, because you didn't have the mobile quarterback threat, so you felt like you could really zero in on the running backs. You played good run defense in the first half overall. I think Seattle had 39 yards at the break, but floodgates really open in the second half. I think Pittsburgh will look at injuries and hope that Harmon gets back potentially as early as this week, maybe next week at the latest, and hopefully Highsmith isn't going to miss too long. Sounds like he'll avoid IR, but regardless of health, the guys have to do the job. And Black still played 40 snaps yesterday, so he's on the field quite a bit after Loudermilk went down. As you said, his play was mixed overall. And Holcomb, to me, is not that hammer. I mean, if it was in a Landon Roberts type, if Malik Harrison hadn't gotten hurt, I would have been maybe a little more open to playing him on the early downs in that Roberts type of role. They're playing at least in your 3-4 package. But Holcomb still getting his legs under him. These linebackers all have to play better, no question about that, but I'm not really looking to make that change to Holcomb because I don't know if the benefit's going to be dramatically different.
Now, look, and we went over this on the podcast this morning, the first half run defense. I'm not going to put those guys in the Pro Bowl because of that, but it was decent in the first half there. It started to get away from them in the second half there. And especially if you look at, and I posted the directional snaps or directional stats from the first 2 games on Twitter earlier this afternoon. And it's mostly everything to the left of center, is where really where they're struggling there, because teams obviously don't want to run at TJ Watt for obvious reasons there, but they're going to have to solve this, because if not, if you're not able to protect against the run, if teams are able to stay ahead of the chains, then that obviously makes them less predictable in second and third down type situations there. But and it's easy to point the finger just at Keanu Benton, and he obviously has not been good. But I mean, there's more. That front 7 in the hole has not been good for 2 games.
Right, run defense, 11-man job, and Pittsburgh can get better in a whole lot of areas. Ray W. says, it was a really embarrassing loss. I'm not willing to talk about it, so we thank you, Ray, for hanging out with us. And yeah, tough loss overall, and certainly some embarrassing elements to it. Josh Miller says,
man, it was still a 14-14 game with, boy, Houston went down there and scored in a hurry, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah. It was still a 14-14 game with the Steelers driving down there and trying to put it in the end zone, and then all hell broke loose after that.
Let's go to Josh Miller, who I assume is not the former Steelers punter. He says, I hate to be reactionary after 2 games, but given how horrific we look up front on both sides of the ball, is it fair for the pessimism to start creeping in on the outlook for the season as a whole? Like I said, I think there's certainly more alarm bells going off this game than there was week 1, because week 1 can be weird and a lot of unknown to it. Felt like week 2 was a little more known and just didn't solve some of those issues up front. But let's keep watching. I think the first quarter of the season's a good way to take inventory. I think the bye week's a good time to really kind of see where this team seemingly is going to be at. So not to say it's going to get better. We'll see. It has to get better, of course, but I'm going to give it more time before making judgments, but I think there's a little more reason for alarm after this game.
especially the pass defense, like we talked about. It's easy to look over here at the run defense, something that 2 weeks in a row that you've seen this defense struggle on. But then you turn around and you go back through, and even in the TV tape last night, you're thinking, man, Darnold had in times where he needed clean pockets to work with, he had them, and I mean he just drilled the middle of the field from about 7 to 12 yards pretty regularly. And you had that deep throw down the middle of the field later in the game. That was a dagger on top of a dagger, if you will. And that's one of the most concerning things. He posted an adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat of 6.5, even with 2 interceptions, and was sacked twice for 19 yards or something like that in the game. So not only did you have the run defense problems yesterday, but as throughout the game, and specifically some of those key third downs as well too, the pass defense wasn't there.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, I think, had 9 completions basically between the numbers in that 10 to 15 yard range, and he just consistently won over the middle of the field on those dig routes, short and long on third down. Pittsburgh could not stop them, and if they're able to cover those things even a half second longer, you're going to get some pressure. There was an early, I think the first third down of the game, TJ Watt's looping inside, he's got a free shot on Darnold, but receiver in Jigba breaks open, ball gets out, avoids a sack, they convert, go down and score a touchdown. That's a big difference there. And there's a couple moments where the ball got out just in time. If you hold your coverage just a quarter second longer, the whole outcome of the game could have been flipped.
What was the time to throw for Darnold in this game? 2.71.
It's about league average, I would say, right?
He's right in the middle so far of all the quarterbacks that played, but normally you get excited for a Steelers defense if a quarterback's holding the ball on average that many dropbacks for that amount of time. It's not like he had a lot of extended plays either, right?
Fair. Yeah, you're right about that. Got a $5 super chat from Antonio Castillo. Thank you, Antonio. He says, hello, Dave and Alex. What will it take for this run game to improve? Investments are there. Time has gone by. Results are just as bad year by year. You've gone through the offensive all 22. I haven't gotten there yet. I began with the defense. So what are your thoughts, Dave?
grow some of the long and curlies, help ain't coming, folks. This team's just got to buckle up and get better and start pad level, just getting some of these doubles, getting off some of these duos, and getting to the next level and start putting these second level linebackers on their butt, like what's happening to the Steelers on some of these runs. You're not just gonna wave a magic wand at this, at this point. And once again, there's nobody behind these guys that you would think, okay, we'll just turn to Spencer Anderson, or, I mean, really, Calvin Anderson's not going to be much of an upgrade either, especially in the run blocking department. The only thing I can say, and I haven't gotten a charting back from Tom Mead yet, but I mean, Darnell Washington, how many 12 personnel snaps was he on in this game? Didn't he play another 20-something snaps or something in this game? So, I mean, he was on the field. I don't know how many of these are runs or whatnot with him until I get the charting back, because I haven't drilled down that far. Let me see how many. He played 23 snaps in this game, 37%. Could he have stood to be on the field a little bit more, specifically in run situations? Probably. But yeah, just inconsistent from one down to the next. You're talking about a team still that has one explosive play of 10 yards or longer, and that one came with 40-something seconds left in the game yesterday, when it was already decided, and they were thinking about getting their stuff together for the plane.
Yeah, there's no easy answers here, and like you said, Dave, cavalry's not coming. The group is the group. They're going to sink or swim, and that's what it comes down to, these starters. And I think last year on some of the zone schemes, it was messy. Some of the combo blocks, linebackers running free, just didn't feel like a unit. Still watching this year, have to go through the Seahawks tape with a finer tooth comb. The run game felt a bit better. They leaned on Jaylen Warren a little more in this game than they did in week one. That probably should continue, but you're right. Should there be a Darnell Washington game where he's playing the majority of the snaps and is out there, and we're going to sit there and say, we need to run the football, and so we're going to do everything we can to run the football. If that means playing Darnell over Fryermuth and or Jonnu Smith, then so be it.
Yeah.
Just one thought. Not to cure all, but just one thought. But
and there's only so much 13 personnel you're going to be able to run in a game, you know.
Sure. So it'll be interesting to see the approach, and I want to go through the tape, and we'll talk about it more for the Wednesday show. Got a $5 super chat from Superstar SS. Says, I don't know the numbers, but seems like the Steelers have not done well versus West Coast teams at home in that early window lately. Good point. I think someone showed me the stat right before kickoff yesterday. Something like Seattle was 3-0 in the 10 a.m. Pacific Coast time window in their last 3 games and had done well in some of those West Coast trips. I know San Francisco for the home opener in 2023 came in and rocked Pittsburgh, where Seattle gets the win. So I don't have all the data in front of me, but yeah, Pittsburgh is not having that advantage that might seemingly be there for a team making the cross-coast trip.
Yeah, those are the numbers that are fun to look at, but in you know, on a year-to-year basis, how much historical relevance do they have? It's hard to say. We'd have to go take a large sample size, but I get the overarching point. I mean, you got a team flying across countries, changing time zones, and you know, you think that'd give you some advantage. Also, you're playing at home opener, all the excitement and noise and everything that comes along with that, and you know, that obviously didn't come in play. And I mean, the only saving grace is that this was a winnable game for the Steelers up until, you know, Seattle kicked off after that field goal.
All right, we'll talk about that. Got some questions on Kaleb Johnson from the chat. Just a reminder to like this stream, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. Our friend Jason says nothing will change until Art II steps down or until he's removed or fires Tomlin. Art II is the real problem because he allows this insanity to continue. We need a football guy at the top. I assume that, of course, refers to ownership. I don't know how many football guys are owners. I feel like it's mostly business people. I think Art Rooney might have one of the more, not that he's a football guy in the sense that Jason is referring to, but he's been around the organization for so long. I don't know how many owners are actually true and blue football background type of guys.
Well, I will say, here's what I'll say. I don't think Art's in there scouting and Art's in there making the actual selections. And when you look at what this team has invested, I mean, just on the offensive side of the football for the Steelers, you've got this offensive line that you've got some pedigree draft picks in. You got 2 first-round tackles. You got a second-round center. You've got, what round was McCormick?
4th round.
4th round guy, but a small school guy that had upside to him. And then you've got, you know, an experienced veteran in Isaac Seumalo. You draft those guys and with the idea of at this time with the amount, you know, obviously Fautano missed his rookie season and all, but this offensive line should be a lot further along than they are right now. And you know, it goes, you know, and this is also an organization that primarily builds through what? The draft. And how many times we talked about over the years that the first round selections that this team, you know, has missed on. When you build through the draft like that, now look, they did do things different this year and went out and traded for DK, but you know, you're talking about one player within that. They obviously went out and traded for Jonnu Smith and Ramsey. And look, I mean, I think Ramsey's making plays on the defensive side of football in these first 2 games, but you know, he didn't have a good overall game against the Rams. I mean, against the Seahawks yesterday there. Long story short here is, who's making the personnel decisions with him, because you're only as good as what, the clay that you have to work with. And, you know, right now, especially like I said, when it comes to this offensive line, you're not getting the results that you need out of that. And when you look at the defense and the number of draft picks and the free agent talent acquired within there, you're not getting the results out of that either.
Yeah, I think the philosophy has been fine. Even this offseason that was pretty radical by Pittsburgh standards, just been a focus on drafting in the trenches and add other pieces through other means, trade, signings, etc. But you're not hitting on some of those draft picks. And I talked about even for all the glitz and glam of the headline names, adding Metcalf and Rodgers and Ramsey, the litmus test for this team would be in the trenches, really that offensive line for Pittsburgh, and the growth through 2 games. They're not even just on Broderick Jones and Fautanu, but how good has Mason McCormick been this year? How good has Zach Frazier been this year? Say Malu feels like you're not really getting a whole lot out of him. So none of those guys are really playing to the level that they need to. And if your O-line can't do much and your D-line's hurt and struggling, then you're fundamentally flawed.
All right.
Josh Miller also would not want to be Omar next spring and have to decide between spending assets on a first-round quarterback versus a starting left tackle because both positions demand a first-round pick. It's a really good point. We talked about it, Dave, that Broderick Jones had to hit this year, so Pittsburgh would not have to worry about that. Also, replacing a left guard, which does not demand a first-round pick, but just something on that to-do list, because signing one in free agency is always expensive to do. Obviously, with the tackle is doubly so. So that's a problem if it becomes a decision next year.
Now, you can't say that Art Rooney II didn't agree to at least throw money at this thing this year. I mean, they spent, I don't know what the final number is, haven't gone back, probably around 104%, 105% over this year's cap number. And I expected that number to be like 101 or 102%, something like that over this year's cap number. So they spent the money, but within that, what are the expectations? And this is obviously beyond this year. 2026 is the third year of the 3-year period there. Boy, that's a nice pass there. Tampa Bay's on the board here now.
Who scored?
Tampa Bay, and it was Miller. Ryan Miller from Baker, 20 yards out. Boy, it's nice to see. It's weird to see plays like that work. Where was I? Here's what I'm thinking. Don't expect the Steelers to go hog wild as far as cash spending in the third year of the cycle in 2026. I think this year they spent a little bit more than probably. They even probably budgeted to make all these pieces work, and I'm not convinced that they're going to be big spinners in 2026.
I tend to agree. We'll see the landscape and the needs, but they have 12 draft picks, or could have as many as 12 draft picks next year, and I think that's where they're going to look to retool and have this youth infusion. Omar Khan has sort of teased as much, and so that's probably the avenue in which Pittsburgh primarily builds out its roster in 2026. Couple of questions here on Kaleb Johnson. Let's talk about it. Obviously, the big blunder, allowing the kickoff to go past him, not recover the football. Seattle falls on it, scores, big turning point of the game. Couple of questions related to that. One from Mike Adesso. What do we think the plan is? A kick returner for next week can't put Warren back there all game. Warren replaced Johnson on that kickoff after the miscue. And then Quentin Chandler says, do you guys think Kaleb Johnson will basically get redshirted after this, or will they give him more touches as the year goes on? If so, how could he earn those? Michelle also saying he thinks Kaleb is having a mental break, too much pressure, he's not handling well. I don't think that's true on that last point. But to answer those questions, Dave, who are your kick returners this week? And does Johnson get back in the fold, or do they kind of shelve him?
Well, I don't know how he can get redshirted any more on offense than he already is right now.
I guess truly being inactive.
Yeah, no, I don't think he'll be inactive. He could. I mean, we'll have to see how the injuries and all work out. Maybe who do you have on the practice squad that you could bring up? As a third
Sermon
running back,
and Lou Nichols, I believe, is there too.
All right. So maybe you consider, depending on who is healthy and how the numbers work out for special teams, maybe you do consider something along those lines. Bring up a Sermon for a game, make Johnson inactive, have him think about things and refocus or something like that. If he is active, if you're going to get anything out of him, then he probably needs to play on special teams and be your kick returner. So, are they willing to go back that route the first game after? It is a good suggestion, and it is a plausible one. Once again, we'll have to see how injuries work out, who's going to need to be inactive because they're hurt, and how many call-ups do they have from the practice squad and all like that on Saturday as far as elevation. So I suppose it's plausible that you could call up a Trey Sermon, make Johnson inactive for a game or two and see how that goes. And then the thing is, you drafted this guy in the third round. So at some point, you're going to have to show confidence in him to put him back in the uniform and start touching the football.
Right. It is plausible, that scenario with Sermon, who also returned some kicks this preseason and is a multi-phase special teamer. So there would be some value there if there's injuries that require help on special teams. But I would not make Kaleb Johnson inactive. I know that Rand Carthon, former NFL GM, said as much. I disagree. I think you want to get this guy back on the horse. He made a terrible mistake. There's no question, no excusing it. But I think it'll hurt his confidence even more to sit him. I think he's understood the message. He screwed up. But I think you got to, show some faith in this guy that you're going to go back to him. So I would not make him inactive.
I don't think he'll make that same mistake again. The problem is that mistake cost you dearly. That one mistake did cost you dearly. I mean, it's not a crazy suggestion what they're suggesting here. So once again, we'll have to see how the numbers play out and all like that. But here's the thing. At some point, even if you do make him inactive for this game, bring up Sermon or whatnot, that you're going to have to get this guy in the helmet back as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I think we talked about it today, and it's not the cure-all, but I'd give him 2-3 carries in this game. Play him more than the 4 snaps he's gotten through 2 games. Kenneth Gainwell's not going to work between the tackles, and Johnson in very limited action hasn't impressed, but it's been 2 carries, and I want to get this guy going a little bit, and if that has to be where we really map out, okay, on the third drive of the game, unless there's some crazy specialty situation, you're going to come in, here's going to be our menu of plays we're going to try to run, make sure you're 100% good on these to help him. Maybe that's the case, right? But I think there's got to be some opportunity to get him kind of lathered up, going as a true running back to help maybe provide some sort of spark for this run game.
They need some explosive runs, and there's one thing that he did in college was explosive runs.
Got a $5 super chat from 6-1 who says, if Rodgers continues to play this way, do you bring him back next year, or do you think the Steelers take a quarterback round 1? I mean, both can be true. You could take a quarterback round 1 and bring Rodgers back. That, of course, happened to him in Green Bay with Jordan Love. This is not a long-term play, even if Rodgers comes back next year. It has to be, Rodgers, do you want to come back? Do you want to play another season is the first question, and we don't know how long it may take for that answer to be discovered by Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. If it, at the current rate, maybe, but I'm going to get through the season. We have a whole season to figure this stuff out. I'm not even thinking about Rodgers next year.
Yeah, I'm not even there yet. Let's focus on not getting Aaron Rodgers hit as much. A, and B, let's see if we can get this completed air yard average up from 3.3 yards past the line of scrimmage. Alex, can you throw a football 3.3 yards past the line of scrimmage?
I don't know where it's going to go, but I think I can get it there.
Look, they've got to find a way, and he still has the arm and he still has the accuracy. Man, he dumped that one right in the bucket on Pat Freiermuth on the play that Calvin Austin was held on early in the game. He can still sling it. He can sling it on the move and all like that. It's just, the running game, getting these teams out of these too high shells has got to be paramount moving forward here. They've got to get this run game going. If they don't, they get in these, and they've got to stop getting Aaron hit. And if they start winning some games and all those things start to happen, then we can maybe potentially start thinking about Aaron Rodgers playing one more year.
Yeah, will he want to come back if he keeps getting hit the way that he's getting hit?
He might not be able to. Yeah.
Right. And we talk about protecting Aaron Rodgers, and we usually associate that with pass protection, the tackles, but the run game is such an important part of protecting Aaron Rodgers, taking less off his plate, staying on schedule, utilizing play action, not being in third and long as often where defenses can pin their ears back and really get after the quarterback. That's not happening enough. And so that's another really key way to protect Rodgers is by simply running the ball efficiently and effectively. Fellow Alex says, how concerned are you guys about Watt? Do you think this is just a bad start for him, or has he lost a step? 6 straight games, including playoffs, Dave, without a sack for TJ Watt. Pittsburgh only has 3 through 2 games. What is your level of concern?
He's still making plays on defense, just not the kind that we've become accustomed to him making, with the sacks and the forced fumbles and the consistent hits on the quarterback. I mean, he's doing some work in the run game. He's still getting he's still influencing some plays. Would I have lost some money if I would have bet that TJ Watt would have had at least 1 sack by now? Yeah, I would have lost some money on that. we're 2 games in. I'm not sounding any alarms just yet, but yeah, now look, the string at the end of last season, how much of that was the ankle after the game against he had like didn't he have like 1.5 or 2 sacks against the Eagles, and then the ankle or lower leg injury, and then you don't know how much that bothered him throughout the rest of the season there. But yeah, I mean, I think I thought he would have had a sack or two by now, but he's still making. I think his get off still fine. They still see the same pass rush moves and all like that, and they are attempting to try to move him around a little bit to the other side some over there. So I mean, if we get past the Dublin game and still no sacks, yeah, that will be a bit concerning. But he also tends to get some in bunches as well too.
That was my first thought. If the get off wasn't there, because he's still firing off the football like he always has, if I didn't see that, I'd be more concerned. But his timing and his get off, his explosiveness is still really good. And so I'm a little less concerned. But I'm also, as you talk about, don't tell me about the labor pain, show me the baby. And the run defense has been good, although I think he's had some issues too. But you're not paying this guy $41 million for good run defense. I can go pay $10 million and get good run defense from an outside linebacker. There's got to be more splash. I know he's still getting a lot of attention, and he's come close. I mentioned that first third down. He loops in, would-be sack. Receiver gets open over the middle. Darnold fires the ball. I mean, it's a half step away from that sack, and the conversation would be different. But at some point, there just has to be results. There has to be plays, high-impact plays, and there really haven't been any in 6 straight games.
Yeah, what do they call almost winning?
Losing. Yeah.
Yep.
And what do they call almost sacks? Completions in the case of that first third down. So the bar is high for TJ Watt, but it needs to be high because of what he's capable of, what he's getting paid to do, and what he's done in the past. And I'm not going to lower the bar for a guy like that.
Right.
And I don't think he would either. I think he has expectations super high. David Kapoor says Patriots week, oy vey. Yeah, 1-1. They're going to be tough out. That's a Vrabel team. They're going to be a scrappy bunch that put up 33 against Miami.
Yeah, don't think Mike Vrabel hasn't looked hard and long already at 2 games worth of Steelers tape up front on their defense and all. And they're going to come out and try to run the football. They got a couple of good backs in Stevenson and who's it, Travion over there, and Drake is obviously one of the better coming along younger quarterbacks in the league. He's still not there yet, but he's also, I don't think, killing them yet. So going to be a challenge this week for sure.
Yeah, they got 3 backs. They got Henderson, they got Stevenson, and Gibson, who had a kick return for a touchdown. That was a big play against Miami. So there's 3 backs, and there's a young quarterback, and a team that's kind of building that roster and the vision of a Mike Vrabel coach team. They got a first-round left tackle, and Will Campbell, who I'm a big fan of. And so there's some pieces there going on the road in Foxborough. Will not be easy. Let's see, next question comes from... Carl Ward, who says, if quarterback mobility is so important to Tomlin, how did they end up with an immobile quarterback room? It's really ironic. This offensive line needs a quarterback who can move. Point taken. Tomlin has certainly talked about the asset quarterback mobility is, but it's not the say-all end-all. If you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers that can win with his arm, there's something attractive about that, the intangible aspect, the leadership aspect, and sometimes you got to make some trade-offs. Do you want the mobile quarterback who doesn't offer those things, or do you want the quarterback who's less mobile that does offer what Rodgers does offer? I don't think Tomlin's having regrets over that. And then in terms of the quarterback room, Rooney talked about trying to get quarterbacks with the same style. They didn't quite have that last year, and so it's not a big surprise to see them have some pocket passers behind Aaron Rodgers.
How many times did we reset that mobility comment by Tomlin? He was asked how important mobility is, and what do you say, paramount, or I forget the exact. I should have it memorized as many times as we've reset it, and then to turn it and the commenter's right, to turn around and get a guy like Aaron. But Aaron obviously isn't there for his mobility. It's because of his what's between his ears and his arm. But here's the thing: we haven't really seen him push the football down the field, and he hasn't really had a lot of time to do that anyway for the most part. So it is kind of funny to look back in the rearview mirror to hear over the last, I don't know, what was it, 2 years, Tomlin's comments on mobility at quarterback, and then you end up in this year with a guy, the oldest quarterback in the NFL.
Right, the oldest quarterback, oldest player in Steelers history. So point well taken, but again, there are trade-offs. You only have so many quarterback options that you can pursue. Once Fields left, you were kind of left without any obvious mobile quarterback to go after. They liked Aaron Rodgers, what he could offer beyond or in spite of mobility, and so I understand the calculation Pittsburgh made. Uncle BB94, $5 super chat. Thank you. He says, let's say the defense sucks next week again. What immediate changes could you make? Benton isn't working out. Wilson isn't good. Safety's also not great. We'd have to see why the defense sucked next week. If it's for similar reasons, what's the health of the team? That's also a factor. That's a limiting factor because you have some guys who are injured, and so it's creating less depth and less ability to rotate in people. You would hope to get Harmon back by no later than week 4, so that's going to have an impact there. Do you play Quality more in early downs? Do you maybe consider Black at nose tackle? I think Black finally picked up some nose tackle snaps in this game, maybe just because lines were getting so thin overall. There aren't any easy answers, though, because of some of the injuries, and, you can't just, put in the third string of defensive lineman and expect a whole lot of different results. So Oto Maywa may dress this weekday for the first time if Loudermilk's out, which I assume he will be. If Harmon misses, we'll see what he can do. We'll see on Lee on a larger sample size, but as you said earlier, there's no magic wand, no big change you can make with a depth chart that's going to produce a bunch of different results.
I'm trying to count up 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. I'm showing, I've had, no wonder it's so many. That's 2 games worth. How many times were they in 3-4, either over or base against the Seahawks?
I didn't calculate that. It was 20, I think, against the Jets. So if you said 34, it might have been 14 times.
No, yeah, I'm counting. Hold on a minute here. Let me, I got to resort here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Does 34 sound right?
For the Seahawks game or total?
Yeah. Not just against the run, just in totality.
I mean, are you counting the 4-4 fronts too they ran late in the game?
No, I've got your defensive personnel sorted by 3-4 with the 1-3-4 over.
Okay, if that's what it says, then sure. I mean, it's probably about half the plays then.
Yeah, that's a lot of snaps.
What is the conclusion from that, just based off the changes?
No conclusion, just teams that, especially with them, and we knew that they were going to come out heavy with that fullback on the field. I guess the thing to look at here is what the offensive personnel was. I mean, they had at least, they ran. I'd have to count at least. I mean,
Pittsburgh matched personnel. Yeah, they didn't do a lot of big nickel against 12 or anything like that. They basically matched personnel. When Seattle went heavy, Pittsburgh went heavy.
Yeah. As far as changes go, I mean, if you continue getting, you just can't keep, rolling these guys out there the same and, the same groupings and expect things to change. At some point you're going to have to come off that bit and nose and probably try Black in there. Yeah. A lot more full time. Fuller time than he is now. I mean, as you mentioned, we saw some at nose tackle. I'm trying to see how many snaps in total he had in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 at nose tackle. That what you count for Black in this one in 3-4?
Yeah, that's what the charting. I hadn't gotten a chance to go back and count it up. I'll maybe double check my notes, but okay, that sounds right.
All right. So they gave him some work there.
I should see can you check quickly the success rate? Yeah, what the results
against
were.
Against the run?
Yeah, against the run with Black at nose tackle. Now, these are small sample sizes, and it's not always indicative of him necessarily. It could be other factors, good or bad, in terms of what the outcome was, but just to start getting some numbers to it on a more than one snap basis.
All right, it looks like there were 6 snaps with Black at nose tackle in the 3-4 of runs, and they were 9 yards, 3 yards. It's 2 successful plays there because the 3 yards came on the 2nd and 1. 5, 0, and 3. So all but 1 was a successful run.
All right. So again, small sample size, but Not looking great off that initial slate of information.
Right. 6 runs with Black at nose tackle in the 3-4 against the run, and 5 of those 6 were successful runs.
Do you think injuries are impacting at all too? Not to make excuses, but I think there was some whispers about Benton dealing with something right before the season began. I think he's got a wrap on his right arm, and Black's had a right elbow injury, I think, throughout since dating back to training camp. I wonder if these guys are pushing through stuff. I know that a lot of guys play hurt. They're not on the injury report. They got to go out there and play better, but I wonder if those are kind of underlying factors as well.
Well, I mean, you go back to last year. I mean, Benton did make some small gains as far as overall player, but it's still, there were a lot of questions about, you definitely weren't thinking ahead. This is a guy that you definitely want to extend after his 3rd season, right?
All right. And I know
coming out of his 2nd.
And I know that run defense, if you can't stop the run, it's a lot harder to rush the passer. But I also look at Benton. The pass rush hasn't been there with him. I mean, even just watching the tape, that club over was not working against Seattle. I think guys are pretty aware that's his bread and butter. That's his go-to move, and it's getting shut down a whole lot more. He's not been able to develop a secondary move and a good counter off of that, and that's a real big problem because he's supposed to be the athlete, the pass rusher, and if he's not rushing the passer, not stopping the run like an old-school nose tackle, then what is he offering you?
Look, he's losing. He's bleeding money by the game right now, because normally after the 3rd year is when you try to potentially extend some of these guys, and right now he's certainly down low on the priority list as far as extension candidates go, based on the way he's played through 2 games. Hemorrhaging money.
Well, yeah, either or for sure. John Johnson, what's the lack of production for TJ Watt? Are teams doing something different against him schematically, or is it Steelers related? It's both. He gets a lot of attention. Obviously, the run defense has been poor. It's not putting yourself in great pass rush situations. They are trying to stunt and align him a bit differently. He's gotten close once or twice, but no cigars. So it's kind of a combination of factors, John.
Yeah.
Good question here from John Horvat. He says, Alex, why do we see so many Steelers rookies show promise in their rookie season only to struggle afterwards, i.e. Artie, Broderick, Pickett, Benton, Wilson, others? What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Boy, Artie, how much did Artie even play as a rookie?
It's like half the season. I think he actually had a decent rookie year. I think John's right on that thought, thinking back.
All right.
Like that was his best year of his career, was his rookie year.
And then Porter didn't start seeing action. I mean, it's still too early to tell on him. Read the question again?
Sure. This is from John. Also, let me just interrupt that with a very generous $10 super chat from Brian Tolini, who says, just saying thanks for providing entertainment, especially when I am on the road for work. Steelers, once again, not doing the fundamentally, the run defense is the saddest part. Brian, thank you so much, and agreed. Pittsburgh has to clean up the basics, and they are not there yet.
Something about rookies, promise of rookies in their rookie season and all.
Yeah, John saying, why are we seeing some rookies who seem to do well their rookie year and then seemingly regress in their 2nd and 3rd seasons?
I don't have an overarching. I mean, but you have guys on the flip side. I mean, guys like Herbig progressed in his 2nd year, right? I mean, obviously, Broderick Jones. Has there ever been a bright spot?
I thought his rookie year was actually decent. That half that he played replacing a core four felt like a decent rookie year to build on.
I mean, Peyton, there were some bright spots with Peyton Wilson last season, and obviously he's not off to a great 2nd season here. I don't know. Maybe it's the tape catching up. How to attack certain guys too.
Yeah, I think that's one element. Teams get more exposure to who they are and can start game planning. I think Benton's a good example. That club over, which has probably fooled a lot of people early in his career because they didn't know who Benton was and kind of what his game was about. That's, I think, very clear in terms of how he wins. I think as guys get their roles expanded from like Porter that was more niche and sub-package, Wilson a sub-package, nickel guy, played less than half the snaps last season, to an every down role. There's more on their shoulders and more to be expected and more to do. But, let's keep watching the story on these guys. It's 2 games in. Peyton Wilson, Porter, who's been, hurt, missed last week. So I get the premise. I think there's some merit to it. And there's a couple explanations for it. But let's keep watching some of these current guys. Let's see what else we have. Michelle Diamond says, I think we should put Kaleb Johnson, Peyton Wilson, and Roman Wilson on the practice squad. We should bring up Raheem Jarrett, Beanie Bishop, and Lou Nichols to the 53. I get the reaction after a loss. It's not fun. I think I would call that an overreaction for roster movement.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that aspect of it. I do think that's a little extreme. I get, look, it's easy to be aggravated even at 1-1 right now because they're a missed Boswell 60-yarder away from being 0-2 right now, right?
Sure.
But in the flip side, they're probably a non-bungle of a kickoff from maybe being 2-0, maybe, So 2 games in, it's concerning. There's concerns in all 3 phases, unfortunately, right now, and that's probably the worst thing about it all right now. 2 games in is that all 3 phases you're not feeling warm and fuzzy about right now.
I think that's fair. I would just say the thing I'm concerned most about is being bad in the trenches on both sides of the football. How do you get that fixed? There are no other players to really turn to besides Harmon getting healthier on the D-line. And so those things can't get figured out. Nothing else really matters in terms of having sustained success this season. Got a $5 super chat from East Coast Runner who says, I just wanted to say thank you for the consistent coverage year in and year out. Have not missed a podcast since the beginning, back in 2014. Says thank you. So we thank you, East Coast Runner. You're a familiar name. We certainly remember you and appreciate you hanging out with us.
Listen, we ain't, you guys, all these familiar names that show up in here every other Monday, man. We see you and all, and we don't. It's easy as long as you've done this to take some things for granted. But then you look at the stats and all over the world and all like that, and we obviously wouldn't do this if people weren't listening. And we know we're not perfect either, and we do make mistakes. And there's some shows that are probably better than others, and we don't have all the answers, but we do appreciate the listenership, and we appreciate all the familiar names time in, time out. So we don't say that enough.
Definitely, our community is really important. I think it helps separate us from other places, and well said by you, Dave. So thanks for acknowledging that. 6-1 says, Yins think Harmon will really be much more effective against the run. He is not the cure-all, but getting your first-round rookie back who's big and strong, going to be stout against the run, to start and log snaps and help with the rotation and depth, the domino effect behind him. Yeah, I think it's going to be a boost for sure.
Look, you drafted him in the first round for a reason, right? And sorry to hear about Loudermilk's injury and all like that. How long that'll sideline him, but Harmon should be an instant upgrade from regardless of the snaps that he hasn't taken yet. That should be an instant upgrade out of what they've gotten out of Loudermilk so far this season. So, and then hopefully he grows from there. He's probably going to make some mistakes right out of the chute, but the quicker you can get this guy up and running, maybe that's going to help play a part in the solution, hopefully, to this front.
Right, you're supposed to have a big 3 of Hayward and Benton and Harmon, and those would be the 3 main guys, your starters and base. Harmon would rotate in behind Benton and Hayward and nickel, and you're missing that, and Black was coming on strong, so you feel like you had 4 guys that could come in and contribute, and you're hurting right now by missing one of those guys. So it'll certainly help, and I want to see what it looks like and see how good and how much better the group gets once Harmon is out there, although understanding whenever he does return, he probably is not going to play the 50 snaps a game he might have gotten otherwise. Probably would have gotten 50 out of the gate, but he would have played a lot of snaps early had he not injured himself, missing a month of action. They're going to have to get his conditioning back, get his legs under him. He probably plays 25 snaps that first game back or something like that.
All right.
Mike Adesso, Alex, you've been dead set. The Steelers should not move TJ around because he's always been good on his side, but now that he's seen this long drought of no sacks and D has struggled, are you open now? I mean, he has moved around. They are moving him around these first 2 games. Not a lot, but they have, and he was never expected to move around a lot to begin with, and the results are the same. Now, don't confuse that. Whenever I said he shouldn't, flip to right outside linebacker, they needed to stunt more, they needed to blitz more, they needed to find ways to take some of the attention and heat off of him. That needed to happen, and they're trying to do some of those things, but I think it's just more proof that moving him around is simply not going to be the cure-all to him getting sacks. I think better run defense has to happen for him to get more pressure so the teams are not ahead of the sticks so often and are able to help neutralize Watt that way.
Looks like he's got 4 snaps on the right side so far.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was never going to be a lot overall. And they just can't get all these outside linebackers healthy. Every time they try to get those 3 guys out there, Herbig and Highsmith and Watt in that Bronco package on third down, somebody goes down. That happened last year, against the Chargers, I think. They tried it because they had, Highsmith was hurt early on, and he got hurt in that Chargers game.
He went off with a groin, and then getting him back, and Herbig goes out the door,
right.
And then TJ banged up at the end of the year, and yeah.
And then this year, Herbig misses week 1. He comes back week 2. About 10 snaps in, Highsmith goes down. He's going to probably miss at least a week, if not 2. That's frustrating because you just feel like you have 3 really fun pass rushers to play around with and some sub packages, and they just cannot get on the field together. All right, what else do we have here? Our last 10 minutes. Let's see what we have. Appreciate you guys being here. Malu's looked pretty bad the last couple games. Seems like it's going to be easy to let him walk. Yeah, I don't think he's going to come back, Antonio. I'm with you. But
he's starting to show cracks, yeah.
But who replaces him? Somebody seemingly on the outside.
Probably a draft pick.
This organization needs a hard reset so bad, really pulling for a season from hell this year, says AB. So already some calls for tanking out there. Colin, similar question. Has Malu been bad enough to see Andres Pete get a game day hat and maybe some time? I know the O-line issues are collected, but feel like he's had some struggles this year. It's not been great, probably not even good, but I'm not making a change to put in Pete.
No, I don't think you're going to see the plug pulled on him. But I don't think it's been to that level. But if for some reason he were to miss a game, I think you could see Pete. I mean, obviously throughout the preseason, though, with Spencer Anderson playing the next man up at that left guard. I thought Pete's snaps at left guard during the preseason were better than his left tackle snaps, but that would be an option if Sayamalu gets dinged for whatever reason. But look, the whole offensive line, with Sands, I thought Frazier had a pretty decent game against the Seahawks, but that was about it. Over 2 games, it's been Frazier, and then probably a pretty big drop into who the next one would be.
Who do you think the next one would be if you had to give a second place award to the front 5? McCormick, Fartanu?
Yeah, I mean, probably McCormick, but just barely, maybe over Sayamalu.
$5 super chat from Hot UJEC44. Sorry, I'm not even going to try to pronounce all that, but appreciate the super chat. Says, hey, Dave and Alex, have you noticed little pre-snap defensive disguises? I may be wrong, but it seems very static, showing cover 3 or single high. Thanks. Probably a little less so in the secondary. I think certainly up front, you've seen some more wrinkles. They tried the Bronco package last week. They've done some more stunts and loops with TJ Watt this year than they probably did last year. Some more inside linebacker blitzes and guys being aggressive. So I've seen a little more of that up front. This is a conversation probably better for Wednesday, Dave. Pittsburgh's trying to be a little creative on third down and obvious pass situation. It just doesn't feel... And this is maybe just me not making it up, but just trying to see something that's not there. It doesn't feel as crisp or as inventive or as, I don't know, chaotic as other defenses around the NFL. It feels a little forced and manufactured, like we have
robotic.
To be... Yeah, that's a good word for it. It feels like, okay, we have to be creative and inventive on third down, but it doesn't kind of have the soul of what some other defenses do. I don't know, just haven't gotten a great impression from it so far.
Yeah, just not fluid. I mean, the only one, you're seeing some twist and all like that. I mean, Watt had a nice twist inside that, but everything else, you're not seeing good hooking of guys on the crashers and all like that. And I mean, but on the flip side too, how many situations have you got other teams in where you could get kind of real chaotic on them?
Yeah, there's not been a ton, but I mean, they've had teams behind the sticks. I mean, Seattle played behind the sticks a fair amount in this game, and some third and longs that they converted on or got, yards short where they went for it on fourth down. But you get that sense too, where it does feel kind of robotic, where they're trying to do some of this stuff, but it's just not. It's not really there. It's not fluid.
It's not fluid. It's not natural.
Yeah, I just and we'll see if it evolves and health and all that kind of stuff and run defense better. Will I think make things look better, but. Yeah, just kind of my impression, just a feeling I've gotten watching the tape of like, okay, we have to do this kind of stuff. It's pretty much a requirement for any defense, but it's just not fitting the personality of the defense.
How much trust do they have in the guy next to him? It's almost, are they sure the guy next to him is going to do his job? And it does feel kind of unnatural.
Yeah. Dave Gregory says, fire Austin, fire Myers. So the fire calls are out. Mr. Gonk says, I noticed Patrick Queen in his locker room interview was already biting his tongue to avoid naming names of guys who weren't executing, presumably not in position. Who is it this time? I don't know if I got that sense. He did say the issues are different than last year. Last year was more scheme. This year is more just not executing. But I don't know if he was holding back names.
I didn't get the feel for that. I tell you what the feeling should be is people are getting run over.
Yeah, I mean, they're just getting kind of their will imposed upon by opposing offenses. And Queen himself, he made some plays in this one, but man, Sam Darnold was toying with him in coverage, and in that missed sack on that 3rd and 9 in the fourth quarter that Queen had really looms large.
That's a big play.
Yeah, it's a massive play to allow that 19-yard gain, that drive. They hit a 54-yarder the next play, and that's basically all she wrote. Brian Jonker, I don't understand how Kenneth Walker seemed to run for a first down every time he took a handoff, and then why did Zach always get stopped for a 1-yard gain? This whole game is baffling to me. Yeah, it's interesting. Walker averaged over 8 yards a pop, and Charbonnet had less than a yard per pop. And I think he did some of the grunt work late in the game, but Walker is more of a slashing one-cut zone runner, and Pittsburgh struggled to stop zone runs. And so Walker fits that a whole lot better.
Yeah, he certainly, especially in this. Look, neither one of those backs outside of, I think, the second run of the game for, what was that, 19 or 16 or whatever. Once again, the run defense for the most part was adequate in the first half. They just they wore down, and Seattle just started imposing their will up front there in the second half, especially to their left side. That's where a lot of the damage done. And then look, that 19 third and goal touchdown, that should never happen. I mean, they're almost telling you, look, we're okay settling for a field goal here. And Wilson tries to use his speed to, I think, go under instead of over. So he ran himself basically underneath the play, and then Walker was pretty much untouched all the way to the end zone.
Yeah, that was really kind of sums up this game well. We'll fit a couple more questions in. John Pennington says, hello, Dave and Alex. Do you guys think there was something wrong with Isaac's right arm? And what do you think about the inside linebacker play so far? I'm not aware of any issue with Sayamalu's right arm. And inside linebacker play has certainly been not good enough. But the same could be said about most guys defensively.
Look, it's an 11-man job, as they like to say. I know it's cliche, but it is. And you can't just have one guy doing their job in that front and expect to stop the run. It's easy to point fingers at Benton, and they wore down as the game went on, and it's 2 games in a row where they just getting blown off the ball, especially in second halves of games, and they're gonna have to buck up, because once again, you got Loudermilk going out now. You had Logan Lee play a large selection of snaps yesterday. You got Harmon. Does it sound like Harmon's going to be back this week?
I mean, we'll hear from Tomlin tomorrow, which will be our first gauge, but I'm not terribly optimistic for a guy who hasn't practiced at all is going to get back by Sunday.
Yeah.
My thought was always kind of week 4 on him. The Dublin game was kind of my thought whenever he would make his debut, and my stance has not changed, but we'll hear from Tomlin tomorrow. Maybe he might return to practice late in the week, maybe, but will he actually get enough reps and enough trust for a rookie to come in and play? They may sit there and say, we need this guy. He may not be in a normal situation, may not play him right away, but we kind of need the help, and so let's get him out there for even 10, 15 snaps. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Some questions about Sermon and return guys, from Jeff and B.A. Thief. Why haven't they tried Calvin Austin on kick returns? Jeff is saying, feel like we're missing that power back, and Sermon could return kicks. Mark Cunningham saying he's wondering if it makes sense to elevate Sermon off the practice squad so they can have a true change of pace back with Warren while we work with Johnson. I think Sermon had a good camp. I think he's well-rounded. He can block, he can catch, he can play on teams, he can return kicks. But, if he's getting that work over Kaleb Johnson, I don't know. It just seems like a bad vibe for Johnson all the way around.
Yeah, you might want to rewind to earlier in the show. We kind of addressed the plausibility of that. It's not crazy, but even if you did it for one, and here's the other thing too: if you did elevate Sermon and you did make Kaleb Johnson inactive for a game or two, how many actual offensive snaps are you going to get? If anything, you almost could tell Aaron Rodgers saying we need to get the ball in the hands of Jalen Warren more, right? And as we've said, coming out of the first two games, it feels like Kenneth Gainwell's touching the ball way too much right now. Are you going to, are you going to put Sermon out there for 6, 7, 8 touches a game? I mean, you could, but it doesn't sound as plausible. And look, if you're going to dress Kaleb but not let him return kicks, then why you have him in a helmet if you're only going to play him 2 snaps too? Because you're sacrificing a body that could give you maybe some snaps on special teams or something. So it's not the craziest idea, but even if you were to do it with Sermon for a game or two, it's not going to be something that's going to go long standing, you would think, because you got a 3rd round draft pick invested in Kaleb that you need to get him back in a helmet sooner rather than later.
Right, I get the point. If you had Sermon up, it would be mainly to replace Johnson on kick returns and give you more on special teams, because you're right. If Johnson, you can't dress Johnson if he's not getting kick returns, if he's going to play the same amount of offensive snaps, which is essentially
right
2 per game. So Sermon can do that. I get the thought. Johnson also, just as a kick returner, has not been impressive. That gaff aside, he's not really done a whole lot in the return game, and that's another factor. I think Pittsburgh is missing some hidden yardage in that field position battle where they're starting at the 25 or so, and opponents are starting at the 30, 35 too often. So we'll see. But again, I would not make Johnson inactive. He understood the message. He screwed up. I don't want him to have to wallow in that for a whole week of being inactive. You're going to get the camera shot on him. Here's Kaleb Johnson inactive. Here's the low light from last week. Get him back out there. Let him be able to move past it with some new plays, another chance. That's the best way he'll grow and kind of get past this moment.
Look, he's not going to escape the rest of this week how many times that clip's shown.
Sure. But if he doesn't play, then that's going to be the last play that he made.
Right.
Or didn't make. If the longer he sits, he needs to go out there and make the next play to have something new to help turn that page. Him sitting does not accomplish that.
Right.
But, I know that he's got to also do his job better too, and that's not been the case. A couple more questions we'll try to rattle through really quickly. On your website, in the live game thread, can you post most recent comments at the top, please? You can toggle that on discuss and do that. You can do oldest or newest or best, and so that's an option that you can do. Would be my advice to you there on the game thread. What else do we have? What do you say to the Mike Tomlin haters? Do you agree with the shortcomings being pointed to him? I'm not here to send a message to the haters or endorse Tomlin. It's just this is what it is, and I'm evaluating it week by week, and so I'm not really focused on sending a message, good or bad, to anyone on a Tomlin stance.
Yeah, I'm not looking to send. I mean, everybody, what we say is not a message. I've done this long enough now. You're not going to convince people one way or the other, and I don't really have a message overall, other than the fact that Mike Tomlin's got to get this team in the playoff and win a playoff game.
Yeah,
or 2 or 3, and that's the message that I have is, he's got to get this group into playoffs and got to get back to winning playoff games. That's the message.
Agreed, 100%. Do you think the players are believing what the coaches are trying to do? I have my doubts, says Tommy Myers. I'm not in that room, but I think I don't see a lack of buy-in. I don't see that being the issue right now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I just, what did Broderick say? Comments on this game? Shit show?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Hey, we did. So
all right.
There you go. We'll leave it. We can't get to all the questions, but thank you guys. We'll leave it on this comment from Captain Spartan, who says, Dave, he took your advice on YouTube TV, and you were right on it being a game changer to go back and watch all the college games. So good call out there, Dave.
There you go. I'm glad you got more time than I do. Definitely roll through those things and watch the quarterbacks, and it's impossible to watch all of them, but or maybe it is possible if you got the time there. But yeah, I enjoy it. I can get through a game pretty quick if I set aside some time to go through some of these college ones, and I record everything out there and don't end up watching a lot of it, but at least it's there come draft time if I want to go back through it.
You never know when you'll need it. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate all the support, all the super chats. I know after a loss, it's always fun to get on here and talk about why things are bad. But, 2 weeks in, they're 1-1. Sky's not falling, and we'll see how things look next time we talk. So appreciate you guys being here today. Bryan, thank you for being here as well.
All right. Hopefully next time we do one of these, we're talking about the, 3-1 Steelers?
Yeah, I guess our next one will come after the bye, right? I think we'll have week 3, week 4. I guess maybe right after the Vikings game. I guess it would be our next live stream. So we'll see if this team is whatever the record is through 4 games. So be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com, doing an archive version of this on the channel, also on the site later tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you.